The South Australian government had accused of breaching quarantine did not break any rules. Reporter Sarah Tomevska joins me now from Adelaide. Sarah, what are health authorities saying now?
So what we learned on Saturday was that a man in his 30s had tested positive for coronavirus while in quarantine. He was deemed a casual contact of a case linked to Adelaide's Parafield cluster, and he had attended the intensive English language school at the Flinders University Sturt campus, which is in Adelaide South. Yesterday, we heard from authorities that he had breached his quarantine directions and had gone on a shopping spree around major retailers around Adelaide, including a Big W, a Foodworks and a Kmart on Sunday, the 22nd of November, while he was supposed to be in quarantine. And South Australia's Chief Public Health Officer, Professor Nicola Spurrier, said that the man had put potentially hundreds of South Australians at risk by behaving in that way. So here's what she had to say on Sunday.
But unfortunately, they did not spend the whole time in quarantine. And at one point, they were out and about on one particular day. Look, it has, quite frankly, posed a very significant risk for us in South Australia. We had enjoyed having more or less eliminated the virus for many months. We've now had this incursion, and we've all been working really hard to get on top of it. So I'm disappointed about it.
So that was the state's Chief Public Health Officer, Professor Nicola Spurrier, and she used the words disappointed. She said he was in quarantine. She used the word incursion and said the man had put South Australians at risk. Now, this is very different language to that which was used by the state's Deputy Public Health Officer, Dr. Emily Kirkpatrick. She went on radio earlier this morning stating that the man had unknowingly done the wrong thing. Then at this afternoon's COVID update press conference, she said that the man hadn't broken any rules, that he had only been deemed a casual contact of a case linked to the cluster, and therefore he wasn't under a mandated quarantine period under the Emergency Management Act. So here's what Dr. Emily Kirkpatrick had to say today.
I don't think it's fair that we can put any blame on individuals, because it is really clear here that this person did get tested on day 1 and 12, has done the right thing and has assumed that they can go out and about shopping and go about their normal business when they were symptom-free. And that's what's occurred in this particular case.
And so where does this leave the Parafield cluster now?
Well, the Parafield cluster remains at 33 cases. There have been no new cases recorded overnight. Authorities are still on high alert, and they're urging South Australians who have visited any of those locations that the man visited on Sunday, the 22nd of November, to get tested, even if they don't have any symptoms of coronavirus, and importantly, to isolate until they get their test results. So those locations include the Flinders University Sturt campus, Kmart at Coralta Park, Foodland at Norwood, and the Brickworks Big W. So if there are South Australian viewers who have been to those locations, they are being urged to go get tested. And the full list of locations and the time periods in question are on SA Health's website. And so health authorities are still on tenterhooks really to see whether or not this cluster will expand any further, but so far good news.
And Sarah, is South Australia still on track to ease restrictions tomorrow?
It is. So among those restrictions that will be easing is the border with Victoria. Victorians will now be able to come into South Australia without needing to undertake a 14-day quarantine period. They will still need to register online, but they will be given an automatic approval. Density limits in outdoor venues will increase from Tuesday, along with caps on private functions, and community sports also set to resume from tomorrow. Face masks, however, will be made mandatory at all health and allied health clinics across South Australia, so GPs, dentists, that sort of thing. And the state government is also due to roll out its QR code system from tomorrow, so that will be taken up by hospitality venues and others across the state. It'll act as an electronic location check-in for contact tracing purposes only, which you would think would make tracking down any potential clusters or outbreaks easier into the future. So there is a lot to digest today for South Australians, a lot of confusion surrounding who has or hasn't done the wrong thing, and I'm sure that health authorities will be fielding a lot more questions in the days to come.
Sarah Temevska in Adelaide, thank you. The Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has announced major changes to the state's